Hello, my name is Verna Ferguson. I'm trying to make a series, trying to get the glare in my glasses to start with, but a series of shorter videos about the emotion code process. This one, I'm going to go through the science of the emotion code. Let me just take my glasses off. I have to worry about the glare. Okay, so this one is going to be about the science. And I'm also going to make one about how the emotion code has helped me, and then another one about the basics. So, first thing, I'm going to show you the book. I ran across this book by Dr. Bradley Nelson in the movie Heal. And the first word that caught my ear was the word motion. I've had lifetime emotional anger, anger problems. And I thought, oh, maybe I need that. And then the second thing that caught my ear was the word sine wave. I'm going to show you a sine wave. Okay. Sine wave there is the type of sine wave of the power that your power company sends into your house. Alternating current. I'm an electronic technician. That caught my ear. Well, that wasn't what he was talking about. He's talking about the bottom one. Heartbeat. Heartbeat. I just drew that. If you're medically trained, you probably think that person's on their last leg, but I just drew that in memory. So I didn't know this. I didn't realize this. I never put two and two together. That your heart produces energy. I didn't know that. Pump blood. EKG records the heartbeat, I thought, not the electrical pulse that your heart produces. I didn't know that. I know that now. So, with that, the next little bit of that makes this process possible is the electromagnetic field is around your body. Not only around your body, but every living thing on this planet anyway that can be tested, that can survive a test. So I just know because I'm an electronic technician, I've been in that field for 30 years, being trained and in that field. When power is being converted, there's electromagnetic field involved. Now, you can't feel it around your body. Most people can't see it. It's also called an aura. I can't see an aura, don't want to see an aura. But just with that, I know for a fact there's electromagnetic field around people's bodies. However, I found the right book here. I've been taking pictures of it for almost 100 years now. Never knew that, but here's a picture. Well, here's several pictures. These are pictures before and after of 4 different people's electromagnetic fields or auras. And right here, cannot get the phone to zoom in on it, but GDV is actually the scientific name of the process of taking these pictures. Gas discharge visualization. I think they named it before they knew what it was. They didn't realize it was involved energy. But part of the reason I didn't know about it, that these pictures were being taken, because this was discovered in Russia. And then World War II, and then the Cold War, the Iron Curtain. That little bit of information didn't trickle down to me in the southeast of the United States. It did make it over to California. There's a college there that did a decade-long research project about it. I don't remember the name of the college. I'm sorry. It's not Berkeley. Everybody asks me it's Berkeley, but it's not Berkeley. So, next thing, energy-wise, is that you can take an electron microscope and zoom in to your hand or any part of your body. And then get down to the atomic level and you think, if my microphone here was the nucleus, would you think the electrons were here? 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 No. There's a vast distance between the nucleus and where the electrons are. And I looked this up, how to say this better. And they say this is a way to picture the distance. There goes my dog. Okay, dog moved on. Okay, so think of the nucleus as a fly in a center of a sports stadium. Okay, and then the electrons are tiny gnats circling, zooming around. They don't stay still. The outside of the stadium. And the distance in between is electronic field or an energy field. So we humans and everything else living on this planet, there's more energy to us than matter. So why don't we just flop on the floor? Because there's layer and layer and layer and layer upon layer. So the next little bit of information you need to know is that your subconscious holds 95 to 99% of your intelligence. It's just like a huge warehouse of knowledge waiting for retrieval. Okay? And the subconscious also keeps up of the trapped emotions in your body, where they're at, how they got there, as in the 6 ways that emotions can be trapped, how each individual trapped emotion affects you, to what degree for each issue. Okay? What's a trapped emotion? Emotions are trapped in your body, and they can use the photography to tell that. They're trapped in about a size of a softball or a baseball sized ball of energy. They can be trapped anywhere in the body, particularly where there's a weakness or illness already. But anywhere. But if you've been exposed to trauma or tragedy of any kind, you can form what they call a heart wall to protect your heart. So you're thinking, great. The subconscious knows. What do you do with that, huh? Well, you can talk to your subconscious. Another known thing I had never heard of, but particularly in the West, don't know how long this has existed in the world, but in the West, with polio patients, they discovered that they were testing their muscle strength, and they were talking to their patients. If they asked a question that could be answered with a yes or a no, that the muscle would answer, the body would answer, the subconscious would answer. And there's a lot of ways you can do this. You can have your arm and push on it. You can do what they call log testing. You can wiggle this finger. I do ring on ring. I like to do ring on ring because I have a lot of fingers to deal with. If I've got a cut or a splinter or something, I don't have to use that particular finger. This is my dominant hand with this ring. We'll keep this solid. I'll make a fist, and that ring should tell you this should remain solid. This other one with the answer. So I can say yes, 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 remain solid. No, 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 it'll break. Okay. You can also say, my name is Verna. My name is Verna. That's true. My name is Deborah. That is not true. So you can do testing. And they knew about this for a long time, but they didn't have anything to do useful for it. It's got a parlor trick or something. But in conjunction with what Dr. Bradley Nelson came up with these emotions, Dr. Bradley also, he noticed his patients. He was a chiropractor. He noticed his patients. 1 week, one leg would be longer than the other, and then they'd be flipping. And he links this to he realized what was going on. And he also realized that some of his patients, their problem was emotion. And he came up with this way of finding the emotion using this chart, using the muscle testing. I can go column A. I want to ask if I have a heart wall. Heart wall, yes. Can I release trapped emotion from my heart wall at this time? Yes. Get column A. No. B, yes. Odd, even. B6, B4, B2. So I went to B2. Right there. The column. And I've got failure, helplessness, hopelessness is hopelessness. Lack of control, low self-esteem. Failure, helplessness, hopelessness. Failure, hopelessness, lack of control, low self-esteem. Hopelessness. Hopelessness. I'm going to ask what type of emotion? Common, inherited, shared, absorbed. So I didn't experience this emotion. I absorbed it from someone else. From family, from a friend, from a stranger. From a stranger. Hopelessness from a stranger. I'm going to ask what age because I'm just nosy. 25 or less, 15 or less, 20 or less, 20, 19, 18. Age 18, hopelessness from a stranger. Tourist. I couldn't even begin to guess who that was because I was working in a tourist town when I was 18. So I absorbed that. So it would only take 3 swipes of like ordinary everyday refrigerator magnet, and I'll swipe it right down the governing meridian, which goes from this lip to the base of my spine. It's convenient for me to go right here. I could do it anywhere. Wipe it on my back is difficult to reach and all that. Or you can do either hand. Like I'm in a restaurant working, I'll just do 3 swipes. And that probably cleared it right there. Do I still have hopelessness? I still have it, so I have to do it right. So I want to release hopelessness. Okay. Hopelessness completely released, yes. Okay, completely released. So it's kind of more difficult to find. Ask the right question. Find the emotion. Releasing it's fairly easy. You swipe it right down the medium because that's where all your nerve endings come together. From the lip to the spine, all your nerve. So that way you don't have to worry about where in the body. You don't have to ask about where it's at. You just get used to swiping it right there and it releases. And what you're doing is you're breaking the electromagnetic field and releasing that. Why do trapped emotions get trapped in the first place? The why? They think it's because it builds up instinct. They've done some tests with mice. They exposed a group of mice to cherry blossoms and shocked them. And they bred these mice. In the next several generations, up to the 4th generation is the study I looked at. It went 4 generations. Why 4 generations? Time and money. They ran out of both, okay? But every generation, they could expose them to cherry blossoms and they would freak out. They weren't shocked the following generations, but they had that instinct to be afraid of cherry blossoms. So that's why. How, like when you're a child in particular, you don't know how to deal with emotions. It's just like you put them up on a shelf to deal with later, and they're trapped in your body. Anytime you're overwhelmed, anytime you're exposed to trauma, tragedy, you have a great deal of emotions. It's bound to have some trapped. If you've got a happy-go-lucky life, you've got 100 to 1,000. If you've had really a stressful, traumatic life, you've probably got thousands. So this will also work with animals. You just be a proxy and use your own hands, and that's how a practitioner does anyway. They're the proxy for the person that's being worked on. You just have to do the same thing. I can actually work on somebody that speaks another language that I don't know. I just have to have an interpreter enough to know what they want to be worked on, and then I can be a proxy for them. And it also works on animals, cats, dogs, and horses in particular. It also works from remote, and it's because of quantum physics. And I've watched a few documentaries on quantum physics trying to understand it more. Most of it goes right over my head. However, there is such a thing called observer effect. I think that's what it's called. If you're doing an experiment at the quantum level and you think it will work, it will work. Same experiment. If you think it will not work, it will not work. Your thoughts affect the outcome. So if I think that this will work from remote, it will. And it was. After the first 2 times I was sold, I was like, I wasn't too sure about it at the start, but the first person I worked on, we just said, let's see. Let's see what happens. It'll work or it won't. Let's see what happens. Have an open mind about it. It works. It's a lot easier to get together for a phone call than it is to get together. So I'm quite thankful that it does work. 3 things you need to keep in mind. I may have put this in the other videos, but you, the person that is being worked upon, that emotions are being found in and removed, it's necessary for you to have an open mind, because the subconscious can lock down, and I won't be able to help at all if you don't have an open mind. Don't try to answer with a little bit of control you've got of the conscious mind. Don't try to answer, even if you think you know the answer. Let the subconscious answer, because the subconscious knows. Okay. Last thing is, we do not talk about the emotions. Do not talk about them. That's not what this does. And this doesn't replace talk therapy. But we find the emotions here and release them. Find them, release them. We do not talk about them. I just want to talk about them enough to know if we're working on the right direction and the results you want to get. Hopefully we get to as quickly as possible. It's about as much as I want to talk to them about them. And it's, to me, that's a positive side of this. You don't get upset. You don't have to relive anything. So I hope that you try it, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you.